I'm gonna start with Singleton. I don't know if it's the number 10 or what, but like he gives me like Pacheco vibes for some reason. I don't know what it is yet. Pacheco probably runs a little bit more angrier, but like
ain't nobody run more angry.
Yeah, he runs.
Shout out Jersey legend. Shout out to Pacheco.
Maybe it's the jersey number, but I love Singleton's game. I think he has home run ability.
We spoke off cam a little bit about we're more matured now than obviously where we were when we stepped on campus into State College. But you've had, like I said, 3 different coaches. I had 2 at Penn State. Just give us maybe 1 or 2 tidbits about what you appreciate maybe now about each coach that you may not have realized in the moment back then.
I would say for Joe, like when we first came in, like all our guys had to be, clean shave. When we travel, we're traveling in suits. We're looking apart. How we present ourselves is everything. And, being 18, like in high school, we never traveled like that. We wore suits or we had our pads on. I was like, I'm not too sure why we're doing this. But like now, like as I'm, getting up and getting dressed for work every day, when I'm going into that, that office of mine, I'm putting my best foot forward. And
quarterback sneak right side, touchdown, Penn State! Whoa! Who knew I would make it this far?
College football tees, college basketball tees, whatever you need, Mercury has you covered with the best merch out there. We're talking about high quality clothing, inexpensive, and the best part is I have a 15% discount for everybody who goes and gets some right now. Use the code below, hit the link in the description and go get your merch now. Use the code to get 15% off. What are you waiting on? Go do it.
What's up, folks? Back here with my guy B-Bell. Another episode of The Pocket. I'm stoked about this one. I think we're gonna kind of go off the rails a little bit. We're gonna focus on what we need to focus on and keep up with our off-season thing. We're gonna talk about the running backs. We got one of our former teammates, Bill Belton, joining us, guy who I have been coaching with for the past few years at his alma mater, Winslow High School down here in South Jersey. He's doing a lot of really good things. Yeah, man. Another South Jersey guy. It's like a big theme for us now. We're just.
Hey, I don't mind that one bit.
I know you don't. I got to get some more Virginia representation in here.
Yeah, we got a lot of PSU Virginia guys. Who's another one? Yeah. There's a lot of them. We'll catch up.
Tyler Warren is now. We got some guys, but anyway, I think Bill's got a really cool perspective on a lot of things. I unfortunately was not able to be part of this interview. I got hung up last night. I was actually with Saquon and Grant. We were doing he's got an event coming up that we're gonna be giving everyone more details about. But we were testing a golf course that we're potentially going to be doing this at, and ended up getting caught up at dinner with them and catching up. So. Sometimes things get in the way, but that's why it's great to have a great, fantastic wingman in B. Bell being able to hammer that one.
It's about family. You were with family.
Yeah,
I was with family. It's all good.
I know it is. So we got that going down. So I want to dive into this right now because this is what I'm seeing on all the message boards. I'm seeing it on Twitter. I have such a skewed opinion because I think you do too, because we've both been through this, but everyone is talking about the winter workouts competitor of the day. B, like what's your take on this? Because I'm gonna go in on this a little bit. I want to give you the floor right now to talk about the winter workout competitor of the day and how much Penn State social media is eating this up and why?
I mean, I'll start with I'm glad they are, focused and paying attention. I mean, that's good. It's in sense of just, all eyes are always on the program. When it comes to winter workouts, for those that may not know, it's the grueling part of the off season for these kids, these guys. It's 5, on the field, 5:00, ready to go. So you're getting up 4:30. And it's the toughest workout. It's more of almost to me, it's more of at least it was for us, more of a mental battle than it's physical too. Don't get me wrong. A mental and physical like battle of fortitude, to really like chisel the armor of like, all right, we're warriors, we're grinding, this is off season, getting us prepped for the season to come. And what Penn State does is they anoint a workout warrior of the day per position. And what I know you're alluding to is the quarterback position, which we're all paying attention to this offseason with the two guys that we had last season, but also the new incomer, Grudemeyer, that the kid that just enrolled. And, there's a lot of stock being put in that Drew has not been named a workout warrior of the day. I believe
he got one.
He got one? Okay,
he got one.
He got one. That's good. I thought he still did that, Vinny. But, Pribula has been racking them all up, which, I mean, look, it's no shock that the more athletic guys are winning these awards. I mean, Drew, bigger set guy. Yeah, I think he reminds me of like a Big Ben type size, like weight to. I don't know what he officially weighs, but
he's bigger than I was. Yeah. Like he's like 240 almost, 245. Like I mean, he's a big cat. Yeah, he's a good athlete.
That's a natural 240, which as he matures, I'm sure he'll trim up and things like that. But that's later down the line. So I think it's probably been if I can imagine. Because I was not the best guy. I may have won one or two as well, but I'm not putting too much stock into it because it's when I look at Beau and I look at Drew just off athleticism, I'm going to put my money on the smaller, quicker, more athletic guy on the type of drills that are going down on these early mornings.
Before we get to the next topic, we're going to take a minute to talk about Factor Meals. Now, I know that there's a ton of food delivery service options out there. I'm going to stand on the table here and say this. Factor Meals does it different. Pre-prepared, chef-crafted, dietitian approved. We've gotten a chance to test them here at the Pocket. I just got mine this past week. Phenomenal meals, super easy. Throw them in the oven. Like I said, they're pre-prepared. Pop them out, throw them on a plate. I'm a new father, got a wife. I'm unfortunately the one that does the majority of the cooking in the house. So whenever I need a break, this is a great option for me. Meals, 2 minutes or less. They got snacks. They got smoothies. They got little juice drinks. It's super flexible. It fits into my schedule when need be. No mess. I also do the dishes. So therefore, minimal dishes when it comes to preparation with Factor Meals. Really, really, really highly recommend them for your day-to-day operation. So if you like what I'm talking about, if you're picking up what I'm putting down, please head over to factormeals.com/pocket50 and use code pocket50 to get 50% off. That's code pocket50 at factormeals.com/pocket50 to get 50% off. I know that's a lot of pocket 50s, but you guys get the gist. 50% off to cut into about 75% of your meal prep time. Phenomenal. And I highly recommend them. So that's a good point because I dealt with that with Trace, right? Like I dealt with that with Trace.
And you were an athlete. Like you said, Drew was bigger than you were.
Yeah. But I mean, on a different kind of a same wavelength, like I get it. Like I had to sell the fuck out if I wanted to win in sprints running with, the middle group that we usually win with. Like I had to, and I did, but like I get that, and that's why I think it's like a little ridiculous. Like Drew's, it's not like Drew's not working hard. Right. Like you outlined this perfect. To me, winter workouts is not about competing at all. It is, but it's not. It's about surviving and building a foundation with a group of guys. Like I'll paint the picture. B was there, like B said, we're in there dumb early. Like I was in the hot tub at like 4:00 every day, getting mentally prepared. I was literally doing a meditation session in the hot tub before winter workouts at 4 a.m. I would wake up 30-minute increments starting at 1 o'clock. Right. Dreading nervous, dude. Not even nervous, just like this is gonna blow. and we go in, we wouldn't even stretch. Coach would blow a whistle and we'd have to run 2 laps full speed around Haluba. Tighten our backs up instantly. Dudes were locked up. Then we would go into like a light position drill when we were allowed to, and then we'd go into stretch. So like, dude, you were just miserable from the jump. And then it was, what was it, like 7?
Station.
It was like 7 or 8. And we started at like 7 minutes a session, a rotation. And you would do like one drill for 7 minutes straight. And we were broken up into pretty tight groups. Like we didn't have like long lines. Like you basically would finish your rep, get in the back of the line, have like maybe 10 seconds, 15 seconds tops. And then you were back going again, whether it was like Chuck Losey with the martini drills or Deej with the mat drills. It was just like, you were just surviving, dude. Like that's the best way I can put it. So I know I got fired up there. I got on a rant, but it's one of those things where some guys are going to finish first than other guys, but it's not because the other guy is like not trying. Yeah. Everyone's just surviving. Everyone's dying, and like you have your competitive points throughout the thing. Coach Franklin likes to throw in those tire pulls, all the other stuff. The sled push one, I remember, like he would put me against Trace after we had already done sled pushes and everything with sled sprints. Like it was just kind of one of those things that you would throw out, and it's more like little breadcrumbs that I think differentiate who the coaching staff is going to say was the competitor of the day for the quarterback room or the linebacker room or the whatever. It was, it was what it was. I promise you we weren't going home talking about it. Like we all were just tapping each other up like, all right, that's it. I remember I think the last year in our apartment, it was me, Sickles, Brendan Mann. No, it was the first year. In our apartment, it was me, Sickles, Brendan Mann, and Andrew Nelson. I literally had a stack of papers because I think there's like 15 winter workouts numbered 1 through 15. And when we would get back to the apartment after the winter workout, we would literally go and light that number on fire out in front of the Nittany apartments and burn it. So that's just.
It's funny you say like we do not talk about it after the fact. Yeah. Only most we probably talked about was who puked, who had a rough go, how bad it was, and then it was like, all right, I don't want to talk about that again because we know we got it in another day or a day later. We got to do it again. And I remember freaking what was it? Econ 102. This is my second take of Econ. 9 a.m. across campus. I forget which building. And I was doing great.
Oh, yeah, that was out. That was a 15-minute walk, dog.
And it was
at least.
I used to tell people winter workouts were so tough. When you take a nap at 7 a.m., your first nap at 7 a.m., you're beat. So I would take a nap before classes, 9 a.m. across campus. I wake up from my nap at 8. Maybe I snooze a little bit and it's snowing, like downpour snow, and I did not make it to class this day. But in hindsight, I needed to go because I didn't turn in a homework. It threw me off my class schedule. I had to take another class the next semester. Oh, I was so pissed. I can only be mad at myself. I called the professor. I gave every excuse I could. Baby on the way, car broke down. He wasn't biting it. That's how rough the workouts were, man.
And the other thing is like that like hour and 15-minute nap, when you woke up, you felt like you woke up like the next week. Ooh. It was like you felt like you slept for 10 days. You went into a damn coma. Yeah. So I mean, it's cool and all. The program does it. I think it adds a little spice to the dead period and off season and something for us fans to look forward to. But I just really wanted to take some time there to paint the picture of what winter workouts is really all about from two old heads. Yeah. And now I think you guys know. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think you guys can understand where I come from when I'm talking about this. Like I don't talk about this ever. It's not about that. It's about finishing it, checking the box, and keeping it moving.
Yeah, for sure. And it's not to discredit any of the guys that have won or are winning.
Yeah.
It's kudos to them. Great work. But when it comes to Saturdays in the fall, some of those guys will contribute, but there will be a lot of other names that we did not see pop up during this period that will be, game changers week in and week out. So it's an important thing for college football and the team, but it's not the most important thing.
Yeah, it's a culture. Yeah. It's a culture builder.
Sure, you remember that our first winter workouts after our freshman season? We had maybe 40 walk-ons due to the, sanctions and things of that nature. And that slice probably like more than half of them quit during that first winter workout series.
Bro, I still remember the infamous, he wasn't even a walk-on, Tanner Hartman, who was going to be a good player for us. And it was the damn, he walked out the back door. The only thing that was left of him was snow footprints leaving the Luba Hall, walking back to the locker room. Walked out the door, dude. Man. So
a lot of heated discussions between players and coaches during these winter workouts, for sure.
Yeah, they go, man. They go. So
I'll be remiss to say, I'm pretty sure I was undefeated in tire pool. Maybe I might have been challenged 5 or 6 times. I'm pretty sure I lost in a sled battle. Sleds weren't my thing, but tire pool I was great at.
Yeah. I can't even remember, but I know Trace and I did have a good, like Trace and I, although Trace was a different athlete, we matched up pretty well with some things. So that was fun. But, and now this is kind of the meat and potatoes that I really want to get into as well, like bigger level conversations going on with the landscape of college football. And obviously this is a little bit of an older one, but we haven't really gotten the chance to talk about it with this off-season thing that we've been doing. So this merger between the SEC and the Big Ten, where they're doing like a consultative, and I'm not super privy to it. I've paid attention. I've read a few articles. I don't know the nuts and bolts. So, make sure you guys light me up in the comments. But basically the gist of it is the Big Ten and the SEC are putting together some type of advisory board that consists of athletic directors and commissioners of each conference. And they are going to help guide the NCAA with creating a model and a more successful model with the transfer portal and NIL and reshaping the mechanics of college football as we see it today. What are your thoughts on that, B? I'm going to keep going to you first. I think because I got some big ones, and I think this is a really interesting discussion because it's very high level. I think it's slightly political in a lot of ways, and it's something that we all need to be cognizant about, especially the fans. Because it is going to change, I think, the way things are handled and the core of what I think a lot of people view college football as. Are you paying too much for health insurance? Too busy to read long, complicated policies? Well, guess what? Here at The Pocket, we got a solution for you. Mahdi Health. Patrick Mahdi, former Letterman. He's doing a fantastic job in this industry. He leverages years of expertise to build a customized health insurance policy for you and your needs. Individual plans, family plans. Patrick ensures you get the best protection for your health and budget. Mahdi Health, one broker, endless solutions. Now offering up to $500 cash bonus for every customer referral. So quit overpaying for your health insurance. Visit MahdiHealth.com to schedule a free consultation with Patrick himself.
Yeah, 100%. And now I'll let you rip off, but it definitely, what I always say is when things start to make too much sense, that's when you got to kind of look out. And the advisory board right now is what you say, just pitching ideas and trying to figure out the landscape. But they start making too much sense. And like you said, they're not opposing the NCAA, but they start making too much sense. Some of these maybe ideas or rules that they come up with, I can easily see that becoming a nationwide thing. And as we keep talking about the kind of maybe disbarring of the NCAA and what it is today for the future college football, because I know you were the first person I've heard say it, what it kind of needs to be, follow more of a NFL landscape as far as like commissioners and kind of individualize a little bit. So we'll see, but it's necessary. I'm not sure what will come of this right now, but it seems very much necessary.
I know the one quote I read was we have no intentions of replacing the NCAA. And like, when you make a comment like that, probably means that's your intention. It's kind of what you were saying, like messing around and making too much sense. And when you look at it realistically, the power is within the brands and the schools. And both of those conferences have the most electric brands in college football, the most profitable brands, the most recognizable brands. And it is interesting because there's another thing I want to touch on. The NCAA is they've faced backlash in the past. When we were in school, we talked about it with Horman, with the Northwestern players trying to unionize and stuff like that. They've faced battles and they've put out fires, but I don't think they've ever faced this volume of battles on various fronts. And the Tennessee and Virginia just disbanded the timeline in which when NIL can take effect with players. So they're saying that you had to wait until college to start having NIL discussions, and I think that's part of the reason why Quinn Ewers left his senior year and went to Ohio State. So like, kid made a ballsy move. A couple of years later, now you're starting to see some legislation saying that you can now start having NIL discussions with high school athletes. That completely opens the floodgates to donors and, backdoor deals and those old dark lit mafioso type cigar rooms, which I don't think is a good thing. I think it's a good thing for the players to be able to start having that discussion and understanding their valuation in the market earlier. But I don't think that that's necessarily a good thing when you're trying to decide where you're going to school. And that goes back to the larger discussion of like, there needs to be cap. There needs to be salary cap. They need to level the playing field because Texas A&M can buy anybody they want based upon their funding and their donors, and it's been that way for years. It goes back to the Bear Bryant days and the Junction Boys. There's just communities and booster clubs that can do more, and it's an unfair advantage. So you really have to start figuring out how can we level out this whole NIL thing? How can we allow players to make money off of their name, image, and likeness, which I think is completely reasonable, and I think I've been on this bandwagon for a while, while also keeping the integrity and the purity of what college sports are. And that's a very hard dynamic to tackle. But I think you have, again, two of the two conferences in college football coming together and saying, let's figure out how to do this. It should be really scary for the NCAA in terms of their reign with, the amateurism of college athletics. And realistically speaking, let's just get into it. The timeline now with being able to talk to high school athletes, like that's a big thing. I know that, I'm sure you've heard this stuff too. And, I want to get your take on it, but kids, the first question, when we went to school, I may have outlined this in the past, like my high school coach made me write out like a list so I could compare apples to apples with all the schools that I wanted to attend. And it was like academics, athletics, and then social. He always used to say, Christian, you can get hurt and never play another down. You got to be happy where you're at school and so on and so forth. And he was right. But, now that's not necessarily the case. I could, rehab and go somewhere else, or, I could, ask how much this school is going to pay me versus that school. So like talking about the high school level, do you think that it's a good thing for 15, 16, 17-year-old kids to now be talking about finances and like market valuations of their brand really based on their play and performance and physical talent?
It's such a double-edged sword, kind of what you were alluding to, where it's great, yes, young players, women, men, any sport. I know we're talking football, probably brings the most dollars, but any sport, if you're grinding, you should pay attention to what you can accumulate based off your name, image, and likeness, because as we know.
And we always talk about this, B. I don't mean to cut you off, but we always talk about like football is such a small window.
Yeah.
Man. You know what I mean? Like realistically speaking, just because of the physicality of the game, it's such a small window, and I want to throw that out there just to get the perspective of it.
Very important. Just to stick with football, that's a great fact. So why not should these young players, 15, 16, start taking notice and knowledge of, this window of time, possible window of time for let's just say at 16, NFL is not for long, but let's just say the next 20 years to the 36, right? If I can accumulate, know my market share, know my value, I should start learning about it. But the double-edged sword of it is when it becomes too much of a focus, like you said. If this is the determining factor for everything is, my cut, my share, that takes away from high school football. Ultimately, like you said, the purest sport, college football, and it taints the game. I mean, I've heard from several, whether it's coaches now, players that are maybe more mature, that can understand, like, hey, this kid is walking in our locker room making we talked about it last episode. There's expectations for a certain amount of money you're getting, where in college, if you're not reaching that, nothing really happens. In the league, hey, you're not doing it, we'll see you later. That's not necessarily happening. And I see it with I have young nephews that are about to embark in high school football. And, they're on the track to hopefully accumulate college looks and hopefully scholarships down the road. But I see it now, it's affecting them. It's, I don't know if it's coaches in the area of just, hey, you should start posting stuff online. You should make an Instagram account. You should make a YouTube and do this and do that, which is not a bad thing. But for young kids that maybe not have all the knowledge, and for parents that may not have been through the process and know what's really going on, I can see it being a lot for a 14, 13-year-old kid that's trying to make sure he's being noticed on every forefront, where it should just be, hey, go handle business at school, go ball out as you should anyway, and let the cards fall where they may. But now it's, I got to post every single thing I do, hopefully get some notoriety, brands, and this and that. And to me, that just seems like a lot for a young kid.
I mean, it puts pressure. Like, you're taking away their childhood.
Yeah.
Like, at the end of the day, you're taking away their childhood. But I've also said this. I said this with Adam when he interviewed me on Next Up. It was like the best advice I ever got was from a high school coach. It was like, you have to be willing to be different. You have to be willing to be alone. And, like, if you do want to really reach that pinnacle, whatever that is, right? If you want to be the Patrick Mahomes, the Aaron Rodgers, like, those are all things you do have to be cognizant of. Whether you want to or not. Like, that was an internal battle I always had, because I always just wanted to look at it as a game. Mm-hmm. But, like, it really wasn't. Yeah. And it's not.
I think that's out the window now. I was the same way.
And you're not a kid. Mm-hmm. Like, you have such a large platform. Like, you aren't, like, you might be a 16-year-old kid, but you're not a kid. People don't view you like that. And that's part of it, man. And there's a lot with great power comes great responsibility type of thing. So, I almost wish, like, it's hard, and again, it's another moneymaker, and there's going to be people coming in for the wrong reasons, but, like, some type of advisory consortium for these families, like, the NCAA clearinghouse, right. Like, we had to go in and do that to start getting recruited, like, some type of, like, clearinghouse regulatory system that starts educating on that space, right? Like, because it is, like, you're going to have recruits who have certain backgrounds where, like, parents are going to be very affluent in that space. They're going to understand all that. They're going to figure out, they're going to know, like the Mannings, for example, and how they're handling Arch. Like, I think they're doing a fantastic job, and they've done that across the board. Like, Eli was always kind of in a bubble in the biggest market in the country, in New York. Like, he always did a great job of, like, managing his brand and managing, like, his public perception. And I see them doing it with Arch now. Everyone's putting this pressure on this kid to transfer. And he's like, dude, like, why? Right. I'm everything's right here in front of me. And it's just not, like, it's not the path of, every other number one quarterback in the country, but it's going to be my path. And ultimately, I think it's going to be a great path for him. Just looking at it from the outside. And I know that's kind of an oddball to throw in there, but it's one of those things. Like, I think education is really important on this if you are going to start rolling this out, just because of the fragility of these minds and the dynamic of the broad spectrum of backgrounds that these kids are coming from. And I just think it's really important. I think it's, at the end of the day, you can make college sports what it's about, sports in general. Mm-hmm. But I go back to, like, what it is about is taking a kid who has a ton of God-given talent and providing them with avenues to maximize that in whichever way they want to, and ultimately doing right by them at the end. And that's a tough ask in today's world, man. And it's sad to say, like, I got kids, I'm raising a kid. Like, that's a very, very tough thing to talk about, but it's true. Like, you have to do right by the kid. And I think that there's a lot of adults who are making an ass pile of money from this shit who might not have the right intentions. And I think that's really scary.
Right. Yeah, that's the scary part. And even with recruits' parents, I mean, as you said, you're raising a child, and we've been around sports our whole life. We've known parents that seem to want it more than their kid and will push their kid and add pressure to their kid that maybe, that kid's not ready for. And then we see some kids falter. Some kids want it and they rise to the occasion, but that's the scary part. And that's a great point you said. Some type of advisory clearinghouse to, hey, your kid is 16, 15, has aspirations, has a pretty bright future of at least making it to college ranks. This is what you have to go through if you want to start monetizing off your name, image, and likeness, and just education being the forefront, but, background checks, everything like that, just to make sure everything is protecting the kid. And
yeah, and that's what it's about, man. Like, and it's about giving them a chance. Mm-hmm. Really, it's about giving them a chance. Because once you get into that black hole, like, it's, you got people out there scrolling through your Twitter from like years ago, just trying to find that one thing that could be, changing for you. And it's like, I just think it's a little ridiculous, and it's a crazy discussion. But these are all things that this advisory board has to deal with, and not us. Yeah, but
very true. I mean, I think there is a happy medium, a happy place where, like you said, you can do right by the kids can make money, the adults and leadership and everything like that can make money, and the game of college football can still be pure. It's a tough ask, but it is possible. It reminds me of like what I used to talk to like young recruits at Penn State. Like, hey, you can come here, play the best level of college football, be on TV, make it to the league, great education, great network, alumni association, and party and have a great college life. But you gotta navigate that. It's possible though. You can go off the rails easily, but you also can accomplish all of those things. And it just takes a village.
And I think to put a bow on that too, like, at the end of the day, it is the kid's decision too. Like, and it's his circle, or his or her circle, and their trusted group to take those resources that may or may not be available at that point in time. And like, what you do with it is ultimately, what you're going to get out of it too. Like, you can't force participation, which is tough, right? Like, as guys who've been through it, like, we know the value in these things. Like, it's, you look through things, going through work days and stuff like that. Yeah, this is fucking, I'm just going through the motions. But now there's a lot of things that, like, I went through the motions with, where it was like, man, I really wish I did pay attention, because it's helping me, down the road, and whether it is sports related or not, like, it is valuable. And it's that old adage, like, everyone says it, like, time flies, or, you really got to pay attention to this and that. And, you don't blink. Like, it's true. Right. It is. Right. And because I was that kid sitting there like, oh yeah, sure, bud. You know what I mean? Like, I was that kid.
Shoot, man. But Bill and I'm glad we touched on this. This is going to be a great episode, like you said. Bill and I touched on this because he was, he was part of 3 regimes at Penn State, which there's only been less than 2 handfuls at Penn State as far as coaching. He was part of 3.
Yeah.
And he touched on what he kind of took from all 3 of the coaches he had, from Joe Pod, Bill, to Coach Franklin. And that was a part of it, is like, you're 18, 19, and he talked about his, he was a little immature when he came in, big recruit, things like that. And it was just like that. You're like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. And then, fast forward 10 years, now he's in a position to influence young men. It's like, no, I listen to those lessons now, and they do so much for me, and I can give back so much more because of those lessons, which at the time you wish you like soaked it in a little more, but that's life, and that's how it goes. And at the end of the day, you're still in an opportune time in your life to give back and help other kids.
Yeah. And it's never too late, right? And like Bill is a sharp enough guy. Like, even though he puts on that front that he wasn't paying attention, like Bill was listening. Yeah. Like Bill always is like that. Like Bill always listens. It's just a matter of whether or not he applies it. And I'm saying Bill, but I'm saying like I was the same way. Like a lot of kids are that way. Like a lot of kids do listen because you're still so malleable at those ages. You can be influenced so easily by your surroundings in almost a subconscious manner where you don't even know it. Like you don't even know what's happening. But they do get ingrained in you. So it's going to be a tough task. Moral of the story, it's going to be a very, very tough task. And I'm excited for it because I do think that there's a lot of very smart people working on this, hopefully, fingers crossed. And I hope that they come up with an all-encompassing thing. And that's, again, it's really hard to please all parties. But I hope that the main focus is
kids, man,
doing right by the athletes. Yeah. You know what I mean? And doing right by them and making sure that you protect them as much as you can. And, you know, you give them access to everything they deserve access to, which that's the balance in life. That's the hard part. But
hey man, like you said, it's not our job. We'll do our part, spreading knowledge and giving, you know, wisdom to young kids that hopefully take heed to things we say. And part of the Penn State locker room, you know, we're going to become more of a part of that, you know, just in the community. And that kind of brings me to, you know, the switch up into this pod is getting back to Penn State. And this episode, we've been doing the position breakdowns. We're on to the running back position. And, I mean, this is one of the strong suits still of this team. You know, Katron Allen, Nicholas Singleton coming back. 1-2 punch, whichever way you want to spin it. I think this last year proved that to me, that either one of these guys can be the guy. And obviously they're splitting carries and things of that nature. Slightly less productive season, I think both of those guys would say, what they wanted, what they thought would come. What's your thoughts on this upcoming season of what the production looks like coming out of the backfield?
Well, I mean, I think as Penn State fans, we have to enjoy this season because this is going to be the last one with those two guys. And they are special. Yeah. Like, don't get it twisted. They're different in their own way. They have their own unique characteristics, but I really love watching both of them play. And it was funny watching this year. Like, you really saw Katron like fit what we were doing offensively. It was more of an efficient run game, less of an explosive run game for whatever reason. You know, maybe we weren't quite getting to those second level blocks. Maybe the backs weren't making, you know, the cuts, just like, and that's football. So you really can't change that. But like, it just seemed like Katron got in a better rhythm this year than Nick did. And then Nick came out at the end of the year. We started getting him involved in the pass game and he started making plays in space, which he's very, very dangerous with some separation and the ability to make guys miss. So, looking forward to this season, I really hope that Andy does a good job of putting both of those guys in positions to be successful consistently based upon what their skill set dictates. And when you're trying to do that, I think the best thing about it, and you know, I don't know either of these kids really, really well personally, but everything that I've heard and everything I've talked about, they're best friends. Yeah. They live together. There's no real friction or ego involved in that relationship, which is super easy as a coaching staff when you're rolling in. Like, you have two kids who are committed to just winning football games and doing their part. Now I don't have to worry about any other bullshit. I don't have to worry about drama, nothing. I just have to put them in positions to be successful. So I think that's the task is go back, study what Nick did 2 years ago, study what Katron did really last year, find out where they fit, and just do it over and week in, week out, add wrinkles, but put them in positions. And ultimately, it's up to them to make it, right? They have to do it. And I think that there's some steps. You know, like I said, Nick just seemed a little off early in the year. And, you know, I'm happy he got some confidence leading off in the back half. And, you know, you say it all the time. It is so confidence-driven. And, you know, fortunately, neither of them really took big hits from, like, the media and outside pressure. You know, there was some, but nothing crazy. And yeah, I just think I think that this room, and historically speaking, through Coach Franklin's tenure, we've always had guys back there that can be difference makers. I'm sure we probably have 2 or 3 kids coming in who are going to be the same type of caliber. Yeah. So making sure you create an environment that is holistic, it shares the wealth, and it just puts these kids in positions to be successful. It's vitally important. And I know that's very long-winded and very kind of hypothetical, but I'm like that show me guy, dude. I'm a show me state type guy. Like I just want to see it. And, a lot of the analysis is left to the ball being kicked off and, seeing how it plays. So.
Yeah, no, you touched on like the confidence thing. I think part of it too could be at least for Nicholas is coming off a freshman season where he kind of exploded to a certain degree as far as probably expecting the same amount of production, same amount of big plays. And like you said, for whatever reason, it's just football. They weren't quite breaking. They were close many times. End of the season, you saw once you finally kind of broke one, got in the end zone, you kind of released that tension. But I think for Coach Kotelnicki, the challenge is, what do you do with this like abundance? I feel like the weapons, although our offense didn't necessarily show it on the production stats, the weapons are like, there's so many of them.
Yeah. I mean, it's analysis by paralysis. I think that's kind of what caught up Yurcich, right? Like you had all these weapons. You and I covered it so much. Like you really did. Yeah. I mean, you can analyze it however you want. Like if I'm in that locker room and I'm the quarterback of that team, like I'm extremely excited about what's around me on a daily basis. And like, to your point, I think you can almost like it is also a double-edged sword in a way where you start overthinking it and you start trying to figure it out and you don't get everybody on the same page and then egos start taking over. And it's like those things can come off the rails. Those super team type mentalities can come off the rails so fast and just consume the room. And I just think that's kind of what happened with our offense. I think from a mentality standpoint, we did some things that showed some tendencies because of our weaknesses, but like our weaknesses really weren't large enough to cause that type of panic. Right. And it should have been more of a focus on our strengths and how we can maximize those. So I think that kind of answers your question. Like let's focus on that, spread the wealth. And like, if it's Nick's day, it's Nick's day. If it's Katron's day, it's Katron's day. If it's, if it's going to be Tyler Warren's day, it's going to be his day. Like, you're going to figure those things out. And when you're in that environment and as long as you're winning, that tends to work out because winning cures all. Winning heals all wounds. So I think that's the balance is like when you come in, don't get overwhelmed by it, but just have a positive attitude every day and breathe confidence into each of those kids and give them opportunities and let the chips fall, you know what I mean? And understand that, hey, it's a merit system. Yeah. You got to earn these touches. You got to earn this. You got to earn that. And, you will. And when you do, it's going to be a whole hell of a lot of fun. You know what I mean?
Hey, I'm excited to see Spring Bowl rolls out, kind of getting an idea of what we can see on the offensive side of the ball this season. A lot of expectations, new coach, second-year starter for quarterback, running back rooms full of horses, stable, strong. Looking forward to it, man. It should be another, edge of the seat type of season. I can't, as becoming one of those fans, but I'm excited for these guys. Yeah. Opportunities there. And as you said, it's more than likely is the last season for both of these backs. So also you got to, roll in the young guys a little bit, get their feet wet a little bit throughout this season, as we saw some of those guys last season, and keep reloading the gun with this talent.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about that too is with with the addition of these teams from the West, there's going to be less and less cupcake games on the schedule where the Delawares of the world are going to roll in, and you're going to be able to roll these guys out in the second half. So a lot of these first impressions for these younger guys are going to come on some pretty big stages.
I love that.
It's just part of it. So
I love that.
I think that's going to be another interesting thing to watch is these guys getting their feet wet. It's
right.
You can't temper the fire any longer as a coach. Mm-hmm. You have to really get these guys ready to go and and it's going to be against the big dogs.
That's a great point. That's a great point. I love that for the young guys, and young guys also with transfer portal guys, kind of have a little bit more experience is a big thing right now in college football. And I talked to Bill about that a little bit, and I know we're excited to introduce our guy back into the, Penn State realm of fans. We love to open this up to all Letterman guys we played with, guys we haven't looked up to. There was a brotherhood, so definitely look forward to getting more guys like Bill on here. We talk about getting the rest of the Super Six on here. Dion may be hard. He's a coach now, but we touched on that. So
conflict of interest there.
Yeah. But without further ado, I want to bring in our guy, former Penn State running back, Bill Belton, to the show, into the pocket.
Before we get to the next topic, we're going to take a minute to talk about Factor Meals. Now, I know that there's a ton of food delivery service options out there. I'm going to stand on the table here and say this. Factor Meals does it different. Pre-prepared, chef-crafted, dietitian approved. We've gotten a chance to test them here at the Pocket. I just got mine this past week. Phenomenal meals, super easy. Throw them in the oven. Like I said, they're pre-prepared. Pop them out, throw them on a plate. I'm a new father, got a wife. I'm unfortunately the one that does the majority of the cooking in the house. So whenever I need a break, this is a great option for me. Meals, 2 minutes or less. They got snacks. They got smoothies. They got little juice drinks. It's super flexible. It fits into my schedule when need be. No mess. I also do the dishes. So therefore, minimal dishes when it comes to preparation with Factor Meals. Really, really, really highly recommend them for your day-to-day operation. So if you like what I'm talking about, if you're picking up what I'm putting down, please head over to factormeals.com/pocket50 and use code pocket50 to get 50% off. That's code pocket50 at factormeals.com/pocket50 to get 50% off. I know that's a lot of pocket 50s, but you guys get the gist. 50% off to cut into about 75% of your meal prep time. Phenomenal, and I highly recommend them.
What's going on, Pocket listeners? B-Bell here with one of my OGs, one of my guys, Penn State legend, part of the Super Six, the one and only Bill Belton, South Jersey legend. Also, man, I remember my first introduction to you, coming from South Jersey as well, was your highlight tape. It had like a Tavon Austin-esque like hype to it. I remember just you running around at quarterback. Was it number 10, I believe?
Yes, sir.
Throwing it to your boy. And that was my first introduction. When I started to kind of, associate myself with Penn State, everyone in the area was like, oh, do you know Bill? You know Bill? You know Bill? I'm like, nah, I don't know Bill. But shortly, we grew into a relationship once I got up there. I remember those. I appreciate you for those ride home from State College down to Sicklerville. My pops meeting you at the diner, or meeting us at the diner. What was that, Silver Diner?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's even there anymore.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you for that.
Nah, absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Other than that, how you been, brother? What's going on?
All is well, man. Life has been good. I can't complain. Just, working every day, coaching, and, being a dad.
Hey, amen to that. Amen to that. You mentioned coaching. How's that been? I mean, it's like a lot of guys, guys we played with, it runs through our minds. I know me and you had conversations not too long ago about myself getting into coaching. I'm not ready yet. I say yet because I don't want to, put a cap on it. But how has that been? I feel like you're a perfect example of what it can be to be a great coach.
I think it's been very good for me. My past couple years, I've been at this now for about, I want to say about 6 years. It's been very, very good. I learned a lot along the way, just from surrounding myself with some smart guys in the area. And, I just been, rolling with it, enjoying it, and, kind of worked my way up and, in the high school realm and, finally took over at my alma mater. And, things have been going well for us as of late.
Yeah, man, y'all got things rolling down there. Y'all got big-time athletes racking up the dubs. I've been paying attention. I know Hack has, as he's been a part of it. So, I mean, y'all keep it up as well. Definitely got to get down there and tap in with y'all a little bit more myself.
Absolutely.
And as you speaking on just coaching, what are you taking? You have any influences, whether it be coaches you've had, you just see from afar, college, NFL? Talk to us about that.
I think my influences will be the coaches that had a direct impact on me. I think, during my time there, I played for 3 different staffs, so I got a chance to be around so many like good coaches. So many coaches impacted me and my style, whether they know it or not. Things that I try to take from everybody because, ultimately you never know what you're going to need or what you're going to use. And, for me, like, for an example, like their staff was all right. Like, look, the meeting starts at, 2 o'clock, 2:15 or whatever time it may be. Let's just say 2 o'clock, you're in your seat at 1:50.
Mm-hmm.
So like some of that stuff we're using for our kids. If we're in the weight room at 2 o'clock, you guys are in there at 1:50, getting ready for stretch, making sure that we're on time. We're on, we're early,
Being early.
Doing. So,
yeah, man, speak to that. I mean, that's why you're a great, Penn State letterman to talk to. Outside of just being my guy, like you said, you've been through 3 different regimes, which has only been maybe 4 or 5 regimes at Penn State in its entire history.
right.
And you've been a part of 3 of those. It's not easy. And I think a lot of people from outside look at kids, especially in today's era of transfer portal, this kid's going there, spending 4 months and he's at a different school. It's totally different time now, but talk to us about what it was going through those 3 changes as a 18, 19, 20-year-old kid, as we can say now.
Right. I think the greatest thing it taught me was how to adapt. I think that's something that's kind of lost in, college football today. Just with the transfer portal, like when you see change, like, a kid's first instinct is to, I'm going to get in this portal, I'm going to go find a new home and kind of, figuring it out. But like, that wasn't for me. Times were different back then. But for me, I'm like, all right, well, we got some new energy in here. Let me see how this is. Let me see, how I'm gonna fit in and make it work. That's just, who I was raised to be, how my parents brought me up. And, at the end of the day, you're going to have to compete and do whatever, wherever you go. But
Right.
That's all it taught me, to be honest with you. And that's something I carried over into my everyday life and, my job now.
Right. Yeah, I definitely see that. And we spoke off cam a little bit about, we're more matured now than obviously where we were when we stepped on campus into State College. But you've had, like I said, 3 different coaches. I had 2 at Penn State. Just give us maybe 1 or 2 tidbits about what you appreciate maybe now about each coach that you may not have realized in the moment back then.
I would say for Joe, like when we first came in, like all our guys had to be, clean shave. When we travel, we're traveling in suits. We're looking apart. How we present ourselves is everything. And, being 18, like in high school, we never traveled like that. We wore suits or we had our pads on. I was like, I'm not too sure why we're doing this. But like now, like as I'm, getting up and getting dressed for work every day, when I'm going into that, that office of mine, I'm putting my best foot forward. And, people understand what I represent by the way I dressed and how I carry myself. I think for Bill, he taught me a lot about just responsibility. I think at that point in my career, I had some growing up to do. I was kind of in a space where I love playing football, but I love, being outside, having fun, and doing a lot of other things. And I think for him, he just helped me realize, like, look, this is the main thing. You want to keep the main thing. And like I said, that's something I teach my players today. It's like, all right, at the end of the day, you have a goal in mind. How are you going to achieve this goal? Are these external factors going to help you achieve that goal? If not, you need to let them go. And I think for Franklin, for him, he was kind of like a mix of the two, and he had a youthful spirit coming in that just allowed me to see the game through a different lens. He allowed guys to, one, enjoy themselves, have fun, be themselves. And I never got a chance to experience that. So, like, that's something I take into my coaching career. Like, I want my guys to have fun, be themselves, ultimately, within, our program. But, like, have fun. You only get one shot doing this. So, go out there and enjoy yourself.
Right. Yeah, I can attest to that for sure. Honestly, I'm not coaching now, but just being able to be yourself, especially in this day and age where I think players more so can, more than ever. That I take a lot from Franklin as well. And I think I've said it before, but his main thing was like everything matters. And at the time, as a young kid, is like, does it? I'm here to play football, go to school. But he brought that everything matters, the socks, the laces, and this and that. It was very like particular. But as an older, man now, I understand it a lot more, which I appreciate. Then going back, like I know a little bit of your story. I wasn't there for your first few years, but you touched on it. You were a little immature when you first came in. As a big-time recruit, that's why I think you're a great guy to speak with. I love talking to guys like that because you can give back to kids more than maybe a guy that just had, the silver spoon of football life because you've been through it all, went through some stuff, but ultimately you fought through and ended on a high note. And I think that's, very valuable as a coach to just give back wisdom. We had Juwan Johnson a couple weeks ago, and I was there for his career. He's killing it in the league now as a tight end, but I remember he got on campus as a big recruit as well, and it was a little rough, Everything wasn't necessarily falling into place, but he put his head down, went to work. Even Mike Gesicki, he had a very, very, tough season or two when he first got on as another big recruit.
Yep.
And also put his head down, went to work, and, once again, ended on a high note. So can you talk to us about that, just your early journey before you became, the Bill Belton that's scoring game-winning touchdowns and part of Penn State history?
I mean, for me, I just think those lower moments in my career kind of, one, built character for me. And it made me the player who I needed to be, one, for myself and for our team. I knew early on coming into my career, I'm like, all right, well, coming out of high school, I'm used to doing X, Y, and Z. People are telling me, like, oh, you're this, you're that. And you never really, like, think about how much that stuff kind of factors into, your everyday personality. It's like, all right, well, these people think I'm great, and I'm naturally that. But, looking at it from, an 18-year-old perspective, opposed to, where I am now, a lot of that praise wasn't good back then. It wasn't, anything that I could really build off of. And I'm not saying I need to be around people that were super negative, but you need, at 18, you need guys and, people in your life that are going to keep you grounded and help you understand that, this is what you need to focus on. And like I said before, once I experienced the low and experienced what it was like to kind of dig myself out of that hole and kind of get back to that mountaintop, I knew like exactly who I wanted to be, what player I wanted to be. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm never going back to that.
Right. Never
going back to that. And I think that was the biggest change in my career. I'm actually grateful for all the, the tough times I experienced because it made me a better person and a better player. And then, ultimately for my future, it made me a better coach.
Amen. Yeah, I can see that easily. And I hope your kids, they buy into your words, as I'm sure they do, and then the future kids that you come across, because that's big time. And just in life. And that's why I love football, because it emulates life. Obviously, everything you're talking about was your football career, but as you said, I know you take that with you now into your everyday life. So it's big time, man. You make a true impact on these kids. And speaking of that, you're coach down at Winslow. I know you got some big time recruits down there. And we've been talking about it a little bit, this day and age in college football. What can you say? Like, I hear a lot the transfer portal is really hurting the high school kids and these recruits. Is that true? Is it something you can speak to?
Yeah, I think it plays a part in their recruiting. What I tell my guys are, you go from competing against just, high school kids across the country and being the number one player in the country to you competing against that and, grown men that are in the portal. So the goal is coming out of high school to be, the best player you can be, to be the fastest, player you could be, to be the strongest person you could be. And ultimately, yeah, you're not just competing against that kid from California or Florida or Texas. You're competing against, that kid that's transferring from Rutgers or from Delaware or from, wherever, Maryland, wherever the school is. So you want to put yourself in position where, these staffs can kind of view you as somebody that they would, take over a transfer guy or a guy that they want to be able to develop and see a future with, opposed to, going in that portal and putting a Band-Aid over a situation that they need now.
Yeah, I like that. Putting a Band-Aid over it. Yeah, a lot of kids try to do that. And I think you said it off camera before, is how can you show that you're an asset to this coaching staff, to the program, and ultimately to the school, because a lot of money involved, as we know. So
Absolutely.
That's big time for these kids. And once again, I'm sure you're a great resource for them. But getting into you at Penn State, like I said, part of the Super Six. You're the first one, actually, and that just dawned on me. We got to get all six now.
Absolutely.
So, boys. Dion may be a little tough because he's on staff. There's a lot of rules and everything like that. But touching on that, man, I've been very public about it. It makes me, push joy in my heart seeing Dion up there doing his thing.
Absolutely.
How does that make you feel? What do you have to say about that?
Hey, I love it, man. I can't be more excited for him. I feel like once he was able to get on, I feel like, I got on, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, this is, this is my roommate, this is my guy, you know what I'm saying? We from the same area. Like, I'm celebrating for him. You know what I mean? I'm telling everybody back around the way, yeah, my man's, he's a D-line coach at Penn State. He's doing this, that, and the third. I'm just, I'm very excited for him. And, I think Franklin is doing a good job with just bringing, former Letterman back around and, putting them in a position to kind of help the program and, just have guys that, played there and just understand what it's like to, be a student athlete there. I think it's a, great thing that he's doing.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. He wore the shoes, been in the locker room, in the city, in the town. That definitely pays dividends. And that's kind of what I want to talk to you about as far as the running back room at Penn State right now. You've been there, you've done that, like I said, part of big-time moments in Penn State history, which we'll get to in a little bit. But as you said, man, being a coach that's done it, what can you say about being a running back at Penn State?
I think it's a tremendous honor, to be honest with you. I think they've been doing a really good job of having great backs come through there. The backs they've been getting, since I was there are extremely, extremely talented. And they do a very, very good job of getting those guys there, developing them, and, turning them out into the pros. And, I can't say nothing but positive things about what they've been doing over the past, decade or however long you want to go back. But, they're doing a great job.
Yeah. And right now we got Katron Allen, Nicholas Singleton, kind of a 1-2 punch. And I know you know about 1-2 punch, Zach Zwinak, even a younger Akil Lynch, kind of in hindsight, right, hungry for his chance. And as a former running back myself, I thought I was going to be a D1 guy, toting the rock. Once again, I'm kind of a little jealous because, like you said, it's a tremendous honor to just tote the rock at D1 in general, but at Penn State University with the lineage and everything like that. So never got a chance to do that, but I thought I was going to be that guy in high school. And my first year starting running back, I thought I was going to start, end up splitting carries. What can you say? There's a lot of hoopla about who should get more carries, but you've been through it. What can you say about splitting carries when you want? I'm sure everyone wants to be the guy. That's what makes you the athlete that you are. But what's for the betterment of the team, or is it still something like, no, I want the rock? How do you kind of go about that week in and week out at a D1 level?
The older me is like, I can appreciate that. You know what I mean? It's not a lot of tread on your tires. You can go into each week fresh. The younger me, I'm like, all right, well, let me tote it like 20, 25 times. You know what I'm saying? Let me see what I can do with it. But like, at this point, like I think the best advice that you can kind of give to a guy in that situation is just understanding like the end goal is like for y'all to get to the playoff and ultimately win a championship. And it's going to take, 2 guys, maybe 3 guys. It's a long season. Those hits add up. I know, Coach Huff used to tell me all the time, like, you got a certain amount of hits on your body. And then, once it hits that count, like, that's it. Like, you only get one body. It's not like you can
I know.
change your body. It's not that. So you want to make sure that, obviously, you're doing what's best for the team. But it's a way to keep, both backs fresh, healthy, and it gives defenses different looks. Every back has a different feel, run style. Their running gait is different. How they finish runs is different. So it's a nice little change up, and any team in the country would be excited to have 2 backs that are that dynamic, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, for sure. And speaking of Coach Huff, shout out to Coach Huff doing his thing down there at Marshall, which also brings me to the point I forgot, dropped 2 Ps at Penn State. Just signed on. We were trying to get him on. That may be difficult as well, but shout out to Jordan Lucas as well, Jordan and staff. Once again, as you said, Coach Franklin's kind of bringing that old, really the dogs at Penn State at one point to kind of give these kids some of that feel. So shout out to dropping Coach Huff as well. That's a great point, like you said, especially with everything going on in the league right now and running backs and their value. It's always kind of a tough balancing act of wanting to be that guy, but like you said, tread on the tires is very important for these guys because I know that Sunday is the aspiration. So
right.
Hopefully they take heed to that. And once again, it's about winning. And speaking of those guys, K-Tron kind of reminds me, you talk about running style, a little bit more of you. When we talk about, at least talking about you and Zwinak, the 1-2 punch, Nick and K-Tron right now. K-Tron kind of has a little bit more smooth vision, zone read type of game. Sees it, I think, a little bit better than Nick, but maybe lacks the quite burst that Nicholas has, like straight out the gate. And I know you a big fan of Arian Foster,
back
in his day. Can you give us any kind of similarities you see out of these backs right now?
I'm gonna start with Singleton. I don't know if it's the number 10 or what, but like he gives me like Pacheco vibes for some reason. I don't know what it is yet. Pacheco probably runs a little bit more angrier. But like
nobody run more angry.
Yeah, he runs.
South Jersey legend. Shout out to Pacheco.
Yeah, but like maybe it's the jersey number, but I love Singleton's game. I think he has home run ability. When he gets downhill in a hurry, and puts pressure on the defense, forces guys to react. I think Allen, like you said, is very, very smooth. He has good short area quickness and great feet. As far as like behind the line of scrimmage, pressing the line, finding creases, getting north and south, and then leaning on you at the last minute. I think they complement each other very, very well. So I'm a huge fan of both your games.
Yeah, for sure. And one thing I'd say about Allen too is he is a bigger, or at least stockier, stronger dude than I think a lot of his opponents, feel or see until he's up on you and then he lowers his shoulder.
Right.
And like you said, Nicholas, if he builds up speed, it's funny you say Pacheco. Early in his career, I kind of saw him as like almost like a Jamal Charles, like foot in the ground, boom, get out of there. Also a Chief, so appreciate that. And hopefully these guys take heed. Looking forward to it. I don't want to take too much of your time. So, Bill, I appreciate you. You can, if you want, let the fans know, where to follow you, where to keep up with your life updates, Winslow football, and everything like that.
You can follow me on, Twitter, Instagram at Chill Belton. follow Winslow Township Football on Instagram and Twitter. Look out for a bunch of big things coming out of that program. We got a great program, a ton of, great kids, great athletes, guys that are bringing in, a bunch of attention. And hopefully, someday we can get at least one or two of them, in that, blue and white.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be nice. That'd be nice. Do you pull up your highlights for him? Do you?
Yeah, I gotta show him. You know what I mean? Like, coach ain't that old. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Are you a coach that's out there in cleats or sneakers?
I was early on, but now, like, I'm like, all right, these kids know now. So I go out there in my shoes, I take it. Right. A few of my kids, they're like, yo, coach, go put your cleats on. I'm trying to see what's up today. I'm like, all right, man. Let me go lace them up and go stretch right quick.
Right. No, I love that. Once again, first member of the Super Six. Was talking to Adrian a little bit. Got to get KC on here. Big Don. Who else we missing? Oh, A-Rob. You got to get A-Rob on here, too.
That'll be fire, bro. Don'll be fire, too. You just won that bowl, so.
What's that, 2 of them?
Yeah.
2?
You got to be lucky.
I was about to say, his price might be a little high. I don't know. We'll see.
Hey, bro, you like family, bro.
Appreciate it. Thank you once again, Penn State fans. Once again, Bill Belton, legend. Appreciate your time and best of luck in the future, brother. Thank you.
Appreciate you, bro.
So that was Billy B again. I feel bad about missing that one. I was looking forward to it, but he's here in the hood, so we'll get him. We'll get him up and we'll chop it up about some high school ball and stuff like that. We had some fun the last couple of years. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to do it this year on a day-to-day, game-to-game type basis. Just got a lot of stuff going on, but had a lot of fun. And I know he's doing a lot of really good things. And these kids, man, I'm happy for them. They got a great mentor. So with that, again, I think this is going to be a burner. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you do give us feedback. We're always looking forward to it. And we are paying attention and reading it and taking into account. Don't get that twisted. So make sure you guys are hitting us up on all our socials. The Mothership Mercury, State Media PSU, B's personal social, my personal social, as we obviously post these things on a pretty consistent basis. Check out the merch store. What's coming up? What's coming up? Easter's coming up. The Easter Bunny needs to hook some folks up.
St. Patty's Day, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, St. Patty's Day. Maybe we'll get some themed stuff out there. You know what I mean? But make sure you're checking out the merch store. We're always pumping out new stuff. We're gonna have some good stuff coming for this season. Be on high alert for that. Support the pocket in any way you can. And next week is the week, man. We're diving into the quarterback room. I think next week's the week. Diving into the quarterback room. So we're gonna dial it up with hopefully, definitely one former quarterback, hopefully a couple extras. You guys have already heard from Trace, so we'll try to.
We get you on a weekly basis, so they got to be great.
Get me on a weekly basis, man. People are getting tired of hearing about me, So, but we're getting that dialed in, and B, another good one down, bro. I'm looking forward to these. These are getting better and better. So, appreciate you as always, and we are out.
Yes, sir.